Hello everyone, welcome to our Think Up 12 webinar, Life Competencies, Encouraging Creative, Critical and Committed Thinking. My name is Cristina Batista and I would like to take a moment to thank you for joining me today. Our team has decided to address the subject of life competencies as we see it as something beneficial to our classroom and a great way to boost our students' ability to think and learn. About today's session. We will start by looking at why life competencies. Then we will go through different examples of activities that allow us to take one step forward concerning this issue. As practice makes perfect, you will be challenged to think about how you can create and adapt activities and strategies in your own classroom. And finally, after some shared insights, we will be wrapping up with one last valuable idea that you may use soon. Before we actually start talking about life competences, let's talk about our students. As you can see in the title of today's session, these three adjectives start with a C and reflect very important features of students: creative, critical, and committed. Now the question is, can you come up with more C words, adjectives that you relate to your students? Use the chat and let's try to collect as many as we can. These are the ones our team has come up with. Concerned, competent, collaborative, caring, capable, coherent, careful, captivating, charitable, challenging, and colorful. Yes, colorful. I'm sure you agree with me when I say that each student can add a different color to our classroom. Well, these adjectives cover a lot of ground, and they clearly surpass the idea that the students' competences only revolve around scientific knowledge. Let's keep this in mind as we move on. Still thinking about our students, we decided to share with you a possible SWOT analysis of our students. This is quite an interesting exercise to do with them as we make them think about their strengths and weaknesses, which are internal factors, and also the opportunities and threats, external factors, to their learning process and their own performance. Here today, instead of asking students, we ask you to think about the factors that may affect them. Again, our suggestions are only that. You are free to decide whether you would select these factors or not. Let's see what we have here. As for strengths, students in general seem to be quite good at teamwork. Digital world or technologies also, and acceptance. They are more open-minded and willing to accept others these days. W for weaknesses. Lack of interest or motivation, loss of focus, a bit of passivity, which is lack of initiative towards learning. O for opportunities, access to information in this global world, participation and voice. I believe that today teens feel that they are actually heard in their communities and society in general. And T for threats, lack of critical awareness and misinformation, inability to strive in the sense that there often is a general acceptance of giving up or not trying hard enough. And now you're probably thinking, yes, very interesting, but what has it got to do with today's topic? Well, focusing on what we want for our students, it becomes clear that life competencies can play a huge role in their learning process. Life competencies include the knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed to participate effectively in the world around us. They include creative thinking, critical thinking, learning to learn, communication, collaboration, and social responsibilities. And why should we bear them in mind whenever we enter our classroom? First of all, we need to prepare students as the world is changing fast, and we do want them to achieve success. Also, words like diversity, inclusion, and citizenship cannot be set aside and are easily addressed when we develop life competences in our classrooms or even through projects that may reach other contexts as well. And finally, considering legislation and even trends in terms of education, Life competencies play a key role in our students' growth and holistic development. We are about to analyze a few examples of activities that clearly boost these competences, but before that, let's just take a moment to look at each competency and fully understand what they refer to. Creative thinking, preparing for creativity, generating and implementing ideas, solving problems. Critical thinking, understanding, analyzing, evaluating ideas and arguments, solving problems and making decisions. Learning to learn, developing skills for learning, taking control and reflecting on own learning. Communication, using appropriate language and register for context, facilitating interactions, participating with confidence and clarity. Collaboration, encouraging group interaction, taking personal responsibility for own contribution, working towards task completion. Social responsibilities, understanding personal responsibilities, showing intercultural awareness, and understanding global issues. Feel like taking a look at some activities? Here we go. This is a sample page from our 10th grade project, and it provides us with a very clear example of a flipped classroom activity. But let me explain the context here. After reading a text about the way our brain works and going through some reading comprehension tasks, students are asked to find out something about our monkey mind. Their challenge is to prepare a presentation with tips that help us calm our monkey mind. Well, this activity boosts several life competences. Creative thinking, as in implementing, presenting and explaining ideas and solutions. Also critical thinking with evaluating ideas and arguments, solving problems and making decisions, their own perspective on the tips they are selecting in this case. Collaboration, encouraging effective group interaction, working towards task completion, research and preparation, and of course communication, using appropriate language and participating with confidence and clarity. It is a presentation. Now let me show you another activity. This one has to do with describing photographs. As you can see here, students are asked to look at a set of photographs of different classrooms around the world, label them, and then comment on a statement. Looking at the exercise, it's clear that we will be activating some of the life competences that have been mentioned before. Communication, using appropriate language and participating with confidence and clarity. Critical thinking, evaluating ideas and arguments, interpreting and drawing inferences from data. Social responsibilities, showing intercultural awareness, understanding global issues. And here I have to say that we are tackling other relevant issues as well, namely the mandatory topics of the National Citizenship Strategy. Instead of using something different, let's consider bringing this interdisciplinary input into our own classroom. It's really not that hard. Still considering this activity, which is important for our students to understand that learning can indeed happen under tremendously different circumstances, how can we take it one step further? Here goes our suggestion that you can use in any task with photographs. Encourage students to try to guess what happened just before or even after the picture was taken. You will easily activate their creative thinking and along with it specific vocabulary, which is also a plus. The next example is an activity from our 11th grade project. It is a Think, Pair, Share activity that starts off with speaking cards and evolves into a group discussion concerning multiculturalism, assimilation, and diversity. Again, I believe we can identify a few life competences that students are developing here. Creative thinking, implementing, presenting, and explaining ideas and solutions. Critical thinking, evaluating ideas and arguments, solving problems and making decisions, as some of the questions do present problems here. Communication, using appropriate language and participating with confidence and clarity. Collaboration, encouraging effective group interaction and working towards task completion. How can we take this activity one step forward? Again, here go our suggestions. One interesting and motivating way to add to the conversation is to ask students, What could go wrong? In this case, as one of the questions implies living in a multicultural city, and students will surely think about the positive aspects, by asking something negative, we are making them think the other way around, adding to their perceptions of the world and begging for creativity as well. Something else we can do is introduce a feedback box. As the interactions in pairs or groups occur, each student draws a box in their notebook and notes down 2 positive things about their own and their classmates' speech and 1 that should be improved. This way, we are activating another life competency, learning to learn, reflecting on and evaluating own learning. Well, let me tell you that this is a very special example to us. It gives you a sneak peek of our 12th grade project. This is a Socratic seminar activity in which students will explore the power of asking questions, help one another understand ideas, issues, and values through a group discussion. Here, they are responsible for facilitating the group discussion. Which life competences are we developing here? Well, communication, using appropriate language and participating with confidence and clarity, facilitating interactions, collaboration, taking personal responsibility, contribution to a group task, encouraging effective group interaction and working towards task completion, social responsibilities, showing intercultural awareness, understanding personal responsibilities as part of a social group. Again, there is a clear connection here with the mandatory topics of the National Citizenship Strategy, so students can learn in English, not just learn English, as they grow as citizens in a world that will surely demand a lot from them in the future. As students share observations and opinions, which is our step 2, we are boosting their creative thinking, implementing, presenting, and explaining ideas and solutions, critical thinking, evaluating ideas and arguments, solving problems, and making decisions. Looking at step 3, where they evaluate the process and their own performance, we have a clear learning to learn, reflecting on and evaluating on learning. And how can we take this activity one step further? Here are our suggestions. Evaluating the effectiveness of implemented solutions. Looking back, what would you do differently next time? Making students analyze their performance and consider possible alterations and their impact. A KWL chart could also be used here. We would help students consider what they know at the beginning and what they want to know also at the beginning, and then what they learned after the activity and how well did it go, again after the activity. These guidelines can help them reflect on the activity and their performance in a better way, and this chart can easily be used by us teachers in different kinds of classroom activities. As practice makes perfect, we have a few challenges for you. Let's begin with a video. This EV story focuses on a very important issue, which is cloning. Let's watch it. The guidelines are: what are your learning goals? Which activities would you create and use with this material? which life competences will be boosted, and how can you further develop them. Of course, there's no time to go through all of these, but feel free to share your ideas here in the chat box. Meanwhile, let me suggest something. Apart from regular while-watching tasks like gaps, true or false statements, unscrambling words, correcting mistakes, completing sentences, and many more, it might be interesting to provide students with a dilemma to resolve. The more realistic the problem, the better, as students will have to use real-world logic to resolve it. For example, you have lost your pet and there's a chance of cloning it. Would you take it? As students exchange their ideas, and different groups can have different dilemmas, for example, you'll be developing their creative and critical thinking, as well as collaboration and communication. Another option would be the Convince Me poster. As they generate ideas or arguments for and against, ask them to create a poster in order to convince their classmates. The second challenge, and a sneak peek of our 12th grade project again, is Martin Luther King's powerful speech, I Have a Dream. I'm just going to share with you a little bit of my favorite part. So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. Now, the guidelines again are: what are your learning goals? Which activities would you create and use with this particular material? Which life competences will be boosted, and how can you further develop them? Point, explain, example is a good way to further explore, considering that you may want to go through some reading comprehension tasks first, or even listening comprehension, as there is the option of listening to this powerful speech. So, write on the board, make a point, explain why, give an example. Give students some time to prepare 1 or 2 points they want to make, in pairs, for example. Sharing their arguments will help them develop their ability to participate with appropriate confidence and clarity in communication, as well as their critical thinking and social responsibilities awareness. I would then add a feedback box and develop their learning to learn competencies as well. Would you try it in your classroom? Before we go, let me just share another valuable tool that can bring a very positive impact to the end of your lessons, the exit ticket. Ask your students to fill in the ticket. Here I chose a 3-2-1 model, 3 things I learned today, 2 interesting ideas, and 1 question I still have. The question part is a great way to start the following lesson. As they leave the ticket on your desk, they can go. Here, you are not in my classroom, but I would like you to leave your exit ticket answers in the chat box before you go. And yes, it is time to finish. We couldn't let you go without acknowledging your effort as teachers, as educators, as people who care about those around them. And that is why we chose Walt Whitman to close our session. That you are here, that life exists an identity, that the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. Empowering our students with life competences will also make them more responsible and active citizens, people who may contribute a verse. Thank you for your time. We hope to see you soon. Take care.